That just cut the middle panel. It's not on. Now it's back on.
I'm trying to pull my mother.
But a little bit. Allow them, did you not take me to them?
Maybe keep that place. Oh, yeah.
Hello.
I was gonna say you're right. You're right, when I-
I'm talking. Go to jail today. Teach you how to do that. Jail. People. So yes. Yeah, if I knew about. Yeah.
Friday.
I guess you're wrong.
What age?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Jay, let me figure out.
And she said, a lot of times, Peter for long girls and boy, I'm waiting, but the boys just have curiosity. And it's quite the same. Peter time is, and he said, a lot of times,
Yeah, but I told my friend that I said, boy.
I don't think so.
yeah.
Nobody. Yeah. The reservation.
No, it's not. Oh, okay. Well, if no one's responsible and people are gonna do it by this. Back there looking for this stuff, trying to manipulate the system.
No, no, it doesn't appear to be.
Yeah.
No, no, it doesn't appear to be.
ما تنضم معايا ولا
لا 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 اوكي اوكي
اه
Okay, in your prayer books, turn to page 1 and we'll begin. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Those who create Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind.
Amaye Varada Lumai Zangevala Gor Ande Derene Zonde Nima Zanda Zonge Varada Lumai Zangevala.
All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Edams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom.
Oi Namgen Dadai Nyamge Samgen Damje Joje De Songge Deje Yegwa Dai Jeje Go Soi Doi Yanden Denla Doi Jeje Ngo Jurwa Chuje Gongbo Dongdai Jeje Zayin June Pabe Gende Dam Jeje Ngada Nyatenjen Zawa Dongin Jubare Jebe Paranden Lama Tamba Nongla Jose Je Oi Yadai Jingore Je Lazo Nomla Jose Je Wo Sanje Jumden De Nomla Jose Je Wo Dande Ju Nomla Jose Je Wo Babi Gende Nomla Jose Je Wo Bao Gondo Jejong Zume Zo Ye Je Dong Den Ba Nomla Jose Je Wo.
Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path.
Oi Jongjo Ningbo Jeje War Songje Nomla Jose Chodai Changjo Sumba Ye Zolai Dijin Jose Je Chedai Muje Derje Je Changjo Done Jiba Dong Changjo Sembe Laba Lai Tedai Rimshi Nebar Tijen Dola Pendong Doi Changjo Semne Jeje Shin Tijen Tene Laba Lai Remba Hinde Laba Je Wu.
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Sanje Jodan Zoje Jonam Lai Changjo Parada Dane Jabsen Chen Dake Jenso Jimbe Sonam Jen Dola Benje Sanje Dubai Shu.
May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Ma nam ga dai nyam be sam je dam je de wa dai de ve ju dan den ba ju je dong er dang dong ke ju dan je wa ju je dong er me be de wa dong men de wa ju je nye re cha da ni da ji ye dong yong la ni ba re chu ji.
Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception, exactly as they are, transcending conqueror, together with your disciples, please come here to this place.
Ngona ma le ji yen chen jo re be jom den ko je ne de ye so so ga ba de bu ve de ve a lo gen gen de xiao da ba de ta so.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I've gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Okay, for all you English speakers, turn to page 11. Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the 3 realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the 5 wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind, transcending conqueror, the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, leader of 2-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaim, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise even then, I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the three worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the three levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Travasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the three higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And back to page 9.
Semye
Okay, and then on to page 15. I prostrate to the youthful Manjusri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times. To all of them, without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmatatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible, praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith in excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together, those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue has accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. And then next page. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Good morning. So today he's Karma Totem, so my cousin, his speech.
Yeah, this one's working.
Would you like this one?
That's okay, I think you pick up it.
You okay?
Oh, it's okay. Okay. Okay, just a couple of minutes, that's okay. Okay, good morning again. So yeah, so today I think so my cousin, his speech. So actually 1986, his father escaped to India. I think he come back end of the maybe 1986, I think. So Then he told me how to go or skip to the India. So his area, he did, so first time, so I think my area. So then he told me, so that's why I and my another cousin, we skipped 1988. And then we met with the Kimbo, so we skipped. And then after that, I think 90, right? So 90, so actually you guys know Turkurando, his father. And then he bring the like, I think 4 or 5, like his age and also order. So also his father gave the direction how to escape to India. So that time, and he want to join the school. So how old he that time is? 10. So he was 10. So actually very, I think, challenges and difficulties because one hand is parents not there, and also like weather is totally different. You know, so everybody knows Tibet highest and coldest in the world, and then we come to the India, warmest. Wet, and then so very, very challenges. And also, as well as, I think, totally different food. Actually, everybody's sick, so including me, you know, so many years, very, very difficult and challenges. But however, so he's diligently the study, so not only Tibetan language, so English and science, so on. So really very challenges, but he's well, you know, studies. So I really pride and I appreciate, you know. So so then today, so he's teachings here. So thank you, Karma Tukten, coming here, and your speech is, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So as Jamila has introduced, so my name is Karma Tupten. I came from Tibet at a very young age, like 10 years old, when I came to India in 1990. I joined Tibetan Children's Village School in India, and then I went to Delhi University for graduation. And after graduation, until now, I'm working for a project that was initiated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. As you might have know, he was very much interested in modern science. When he was a kid in Podala Palace, he always looked into the sky and watch how stars move. And he was always wondering about what is beyond those stars and how far it would be from Earth to reach the stars. But at that time, I think he had some telescopes, and he always used those telescopes to watch planets move around and do some research about the things that he can see in the night sky especially. And then also he was fascinated by the internal working systems of the machines that he has. Like he has few cars, he has some projectors that he can use to watch movie. He also has some watches. He always try to break down those things and then try to assemble back to working condition. But when he was in Tibet, the scientific kind of environment was not there, and whatever he wanted to know, there's limited opportunities. And then, unfortunately, he had to go into exile. He came to exile. And after a few years in exile, he got the opportunity to visit different places, meet new people, including very good scientists from the West. And then he got the opportunity to study science. And so until now, he's studying science. He's interacting with scientists and always fascinated by what modern science has managed to discover or achieve in the past 200 or so years. And then around 1996 and 7, then he thought that modern science is something that is not only interesting for him, but it should be something that is studied by the Tibetan monastic communities. So around that time, whenever he meet people, he always talk about his wish to introduce some science education program in the Tibetan monastic systems, at least in India, Nepal and Bhutan, and maybe hopefully in Tibet in future. So I have some PowerPoint presentation. So I thought that there was a projector actually in the hall, and I was planning to use that one, but it's okay. So in 1999, he met an American businessman called Bobby Sager from Boston. He lives in Boston, and so he wanted to help His Holiness Dalai Lama and Tibetan community, and he asked His Holiness, I wanted to do something, but I don't know about a Tibetan community that much, so you should guide me how I can help you. And at that time, His Holiness was thinking about this science education program, and he said, okay, you should go to an institution called Tibetan Library. We also call it Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in Dharamsala, and you should go there and talk with the director there and see how you can help introduce some kind of science education program in the Tibetan monastic systems. So that's how this Science for Monks and Nuns program happened. And since then, he has been helping this program run. And in 2011, we registered Science for Monks and Nuns as a non-profit organization in USA. And since 2011, John Templeton Foundation is also funding our program since then. And so after this, I would like to talk about some of the major things that we do. Right now, we have around like 10 different projects. And since 2000, when His Holiness met Bobby Sager in 1999, then in 2000, they started this project called Science for Monks and Nuns. And then in 2001, they started first science workshops for the monks. So we have around like 32 monastics at that time, mostly monks from Sera, Tepung, and Ganden, but we also have participations from all the religious traditions like Seks, Kaju, Nyingma, Saikya. But at that time, most of them are from Gelugpa monasteries. So we had a 1-month science workshop organized in Sera Monastery in Bailakubi, that is like south of India. And from 2001 to 2008, we continued with that kind of annual 1-month workshop for the monks. And then in 2008, we started to introduce new initiatives. We introduced something called Science Leadership Institute. So by then, there are like around 256 monks and nuns who had been participated in our previous annual workshops. So we thought that in order to have a sustained science education program in the monastics, we need to have a proper planning. And so we thought that it can be sustainable only if the monasteries, they can take care of their own program. So this Science Leadership Institute is to train science monks and nuns as leaders, and to train them as teachers in the monasteries. So along with that, we also started establishing science centers in the monasteries. And so we call it science centers, monastic science centers. And so the science leaders are teaching what they learned from our previous workshops to the monks and nuns who don't get the opportunity to attend our workshops. And so this Leadership Institute is still running. And so one Leadership Institute meets for around like 5 times in around 3 to 4 years. So after that, they graduate and they become science leaders and teachers in their respective nunneries and monasteries. Then we had a second cohort of monastic leaders. And then right now we are with fourth leadership cohort. And some of the monks since then managed to get scholarship in Emory University. So far around like 52 or 48 monks and nuns have been to Emory University for at least 2 years to study modern science there. And then most of them, they came back and they are teaching in the science centers. And then even though right from the beginning, there are both monks and nuns participating in our program, but there are more monks than nuns. The one reason is that there are more monks and nuns, more monasteries than nunneries in India and Nepal, Bhutan. But another reason is that the nunneries, they are more reluctant to participate in a program. Initially, both monasteries and nunneries, some of them are a little bit reluctant why we need to study science, or if our goal is to achieve enlightenment. Then without studying modern science, we have plenty of examples, including Milarepa, who achieve enlightenment. So we don't need modern science for enlightenment and do our Buddhist practice. So there are some resistance and reluctance among them. And so nuns are more reluctant. So they joined our program a little bit later. But around like 2013 and 14, then they are started realizing that modern science is not only kind of good for knowledge purpose, but also is good for our understanding of Buddhist concepts. And also it don't harm your Buddhist practice. And also at the academic level, if you don't study modern science, then at least even among like monastic institutions, you are lacking behind those who are studying modern science. So those monks and nuns who are studying both science and Buddhism are getting more recognized, gets more opportunity, and not only to learn something new, but also to interact with people, to visit different places, and then you get more respected based on what you know and what you do. So there's okay, now we will take it serious. And so we introduce non-only science program for them. So we have around 32 nuns during our first workshop. We always try to invite around like 30. Minimum is like 25 because of the classroom. So even during that time, like first group of nuns, we have around like 32. We got participants from 7 different nunneries. So 7 different nunneries. And so since then, the nuns, they have been studying science with us. And then also in 2018, we started a science leadership program in Nepal. Before that, we get a few individual participants from Nepal, but it's a long way to travel to India for all of them. So we started this program in Nepal itself. So every year in April, we organize a 3-week science workshop program in Nepal at different locations. And so this program, we get both monks and nuns, and this program is still going on. And then in first program for Bhutan happened in 2011, but it was not a like kind of consistent, continued kind of program. We had just had an exhibition there. And then since 2018, like every year, we are having a science workshop, annual science workshop, or there is 2 weeks annual science workshop for there. But in Bhutan, most of the monasteries, they are kind of like more interested in doing rituals and reciting mantras and reciting texts. They're not so much interested in studying philosophy and doing debate and having interactions with scientists. They are a little bit interested in neuroscience, because neuroscience is something that is related with consciousness, and then monks wanted to know what is the definition of consciousness from the modern science, and how brain and mind are related, that kind of stuff. So that's why there are a little bit of interest in that, but other than that, there are not much interest right now. Then, as I mentioned before, we started building these science centers in the monasteries, and so at Tibetan Library itself, we have a science center called Sagar Science Center, because it's what's funded by Bobby Sagar, so we call it Sagar Science Center. So this science center is kind of like a base or the main center of our operation, and then like right now, we have 8 well-established science centers in 6 monasteries and 2 nunneries, and we have 6 emerging science centers. Like we have a physical space, we have a classroom, we have some equipments, but since the emerging ones are like, they are not having regular science classes. But established ones, like there are 8 of them, and so there we have, some of them are like really, really big. The science center itself is bigger than one of the smaller monasteries in India. So they're very, very big. And especially at Tepung Monastery, with the help of Emory University, they built a massive structure, and it's called a science, Center for Science and Meditation, something like that. So, and so these 8 science centers, we are having like regular science classes, and most of the teachers are monastic science graduates, like monks and nuns who graduated from our previous programs. And then also these science leaders, when they are with us, we give them a project to work on, and so leadership first, second, and third, they produce science exhibitions. So first group, they prepared something called the Wall of Senses. So they have like very beautiful Thangka paintings, like 15 of them, and it has information about how we see through senses, both from scientific perspective and Buddhist perspective. And then also the second cohort, they produce an exhibition about climate and it's called My World, My Responsibility. And there are like 25 Thangka paintings, like it's 8 feet tall, 4 feet breadth, so wide. So it's big, and 25 of them, and it talks about the cause of climate changes, the consequences from both scientific and Buddhist perspective. And then the third cohort worked on an exhibition called the particles. So in science, quantum physics is the theory that tells about the very small ingredients of the universe. And in Buddhism also, we talk about these subatomic particles, how they are interacting with each other, whether they are indivisible or not. If they are indivisible, then how they can come together. If they can come together and interact with each other, is there a space in between them? And that kind of thing. There are lots of information. So, monks and nuns, and also his is are very much interested in quantum physics. And quantum physics not only talks about these very small ingredients, but also it talks about this, the effects that we see at the quantum level that are completely different from the world we see at the macroscopic level. And so in quantum physics, the logics that we built on our, based on our experience about the macroscopic world that we can see breaks down at the quantum level. We are not able to describe logically what is happening at the quantum level. And so this kind of like discrepancy between microscopic world and the macroscopic world is very interesting to Buddhist philosophers, and including His Holiness Dalai Lama. So in Buddhism, we talk about appearance and reality, and what we see is not what it is there, you know, and at least from that kind of level, this quantum physics is very, very interesting. So that's why they produced this exhibition about microscopic ingredients or entities or the particles. And we also have, for this one, like 25 Thangka paintings. Right now, we are taking all these exhibits to different places. We also managed to take one of our exhibits to San Francisco Expositorium. There's a big museum there. So we get teachers coming from there for us. And so we managed to take our wall of senses there. And we are planning to take our particle exhibit to Los Angeles next year. There's a big physics conference happening there. I think more than 500 scientists are coming there for a conference, and so we are planning to, physicists, so we are planning to take our particle exhibition over there. And then also we are visiting all major monasteries and nunneries and educational institutions all over India, Bhutan, and Nepal with this exhibit, especially the particle one. So that's what we are doing. And then in 2011, we thought that based on our experience, most of the monks and nuns who are coming to our programs are like young monks and nuns. So we don't accept monks and nuns who are yet to study medieval philosophy. So they should at least study medieval philosophy in order to participate in our program. But still, they are relatively young, according to the monastic members. You know, they are not like senior monks coming to our program. But senior monks, they hold very important roles in the monasteries and nunneries. So in order to get better support from the monasteries and nunneries, so we thought that we should have, it's good to have a program for the senior monks and nuns. So we started something called graduate program, so where we only get monks and nuns who has graduated from their respective institutions. So they have completed their studies. In Gelugpa traditions, it takes more than like 25 years at least to complete your studies. And so most of the monks and nuns who participate in this program are above 40 years of age, and they are like teachers, they are in administration. So they are important monks and nuns. So we started with this graduate program in 2011 and still going. So every year it is a 1 month science introductory program, and after that we organize a 2-day international conference. We invite, during that time, these senior monks and nuns, they get the opportunity to interact with scientists and other individuals who are from non-Buddhist philosophical traditions. So that's what we do, and that's a brief introduction of a few different projects that we do in India, Nepal, and Bhutan right now. So then, like, if we talk about why His Holiness is very much interested in introducing modern science into the Tibetan monastic system, and also why, even though religious institutions and individuals are very reluctant to receive something that is completely different. But within few years, all the major monasteries and nuns in India, they accept this education program. So the reason for this is that even from His Holiness point of view, or even why the Tibetan monastics, they accept this very easily, is that I think you hear about His Holiness 3 principal commitments. So he has, like, for his life, he always talks about 3 important principles or commitments or goals. And so first of these 3 principles is the promotion of basic human values like warm-heartedness, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment. And this commitment is as a human being, His Holiness as a human being. Then as a Buddhist monk, he's a Buddhist monk, and he is a spiritual leader of the Tibetan community and Tibetan Buddhism in general. And as a Buddhist monk, his second principal commitment is the promotion of religious harmony among the world's religious tradition. So it's not only about the religious harmony among the Tibetan Buddhist sects, but also about between all other religious traditions. And then as a Tibetan, his third principal commitment is to work towards the well-being of Tibetan people and the protection of Tibetan's language and its culture. So this introduction of modern science, education in Tibetan monastic systems, and this promotion of dialogue between science and spirituality, and particularly between science and Buddhist spirituality or Buddhist community, is related with his first principal commitment, and the promotion of basic human values. So as a human being, he always advocates the cultivation of warm-heartedness and compassion. And His Holiness referred such human values as secular ethics. You may hear about secular ethics. So there's a big program that is supported by Emory University. We have a team over there who's working for this. And this secular ethics, now it is a well-structured teaching curriculum that can introduce to schools from kindergarten to university level. So it is a curriculum that is based on Buddhist teachings about morality and this stuff, but we don't use the term Buddhist, but since these values are universally aspired, universally accepted as a good thing, like compassion, tolerance. These are universal. We all talk about the importance of this, and we all consider these things as something that is good and something that we should adopt it. So we call this secular ethics or universal values. And so this promotion of science and spirituality dialogue is also related with this one. And because of this, His Holiness himself is very much committed to this. And because of that, Tibetans and especially the monastic community accepts this very easily. So they support His Holiness not only because it is his commitment or his goal, but also it is something that is related with their practice and their commitments also. So actually, so after this, if I have the projectile, I wanted to show a few slides, but since I don't have, so in doing our dialogues, we always talk about why Buddhism is relevant for all of us. We always say that Buddhism is not a religion that is based on dogma. Buddhism is a way of life that is based on our experience, empirical evidence, and because of that, there are a lot of things that we can contribute towards our way of life as a human being. And both science and Buddhism can come together for the promotion of harmony and kind of like more collaborated society. And we talk about this, like we talk about two truths, right? So we talk about the world that is based on our perceptions. There's a reality, there's a world system that is available to us, available to our observation based on the limited tools that we have, like senses, all this stuff. And then there's a world system that is beyond these obscurations. And so even in science, we talk about our senses engaging with the world. There's so much things coming into our system, and we don't have enough mechanism, or for our like sensory faculty, including the brain, is not enough to process and understand or take in all the information that is available in the world. So because of that, what we see is different from what is out there. Our senses and our brain is evolved to survive, not to see the truth. So when you don't see the truths, and there's understanding of all these limitations in our senses and the way we deal with things in our life, when we have better understanding of this, then we can have a better understanding about the world. So normally when we show a lot of illusions, like visual illusions, to talk about and to show us about the differences between what we see and what is out there, and the limitations in our senses. So after this, you can come here and I'll show each individual what kind of illusions that I was planning to. So like, so some illusions, like even though first time you don't know it is an illusion. Okay, so that means you don't have enough information at that time. This is like first level of understanding, you know. And then we show that this is an illusion. This is not really there. Then you have some understanding. And even with that understanding, your brain still sees the illusion. So that means that is the second level of obscuration. So we talk about these two levels of like truths. And then like first two levels of truths are based on like two levels of obscurations, like Shedib and Yundib, you know. And so the first part is like seeing the illusion without any kind of information is like the first level of obscuration and first level of truth. And then after you're realizing that this is an illusion and you still see that things are moving or things are different, so you still see the illusion. That is like the second level of obscuration and the illusion. So these are very, very like interesting and beautiful. And then also like science and scientists, and they are all very much interested about Buddhist idea of interdependence and the idea of emptiness. So in the West, I think because of the World War I and II, people are very much like hate state and organizations and like that. And so they started focusing more on individual liberty, individuality, uniqueness, you know, that kind of thing. And then it became too much, you know. It became too much. And so like when you focus too much on like one single entity, so even if your intentions are good, the original story is like good, but when it goes into the extreme level, then it leads to destructive situations. So like individualism and liberty and freedom, and these are good, right? Nice. These are things that we should have. But when individuals are too much focused on these things, then they become self-obsessed, you know, self-centered, you know. And we always say, "Nga Rinpoche." Nga Rinpoche means, Nga means I, Rinpoche means precious, like precious, his soundness, you know. and when everybody becomes precious me, then it turns into chaos. We are social animals, you know. We are social animals, and nature dictates us an order. Too much individualism is against the law of nature. Buddhism talks about the law of nature, right? So Buddhism always says that whatever we do, if it goes against the law of nature, it will going to bring suffering, you know. And in nature, if you look at, there's order. There's system. Whenever there's disorder, there's chaos. Whenever there's chaos, there's suffering and problems. So yeah, and then yeah, these things are very, very important. And I think many scientists, they even like realize this Buddhist understanding of if the holism, you call it holism? Yeah, holism kind of thing, you know. So even when we talk about the ultimate truth, when we try to examine the real existence of the physical world or the inner world, when you look at the relations, then these individuals also become kind of like more real. When you focus on the individuals, then the relation goes away, and when the relationship goes away, and then the realness of these individuals also goes away. So there's nothing that is independently existing. You know, when there's nothing that is independently existing, then when we try to focus on one individual thing, then there's not much meaning, you know, there's not much goodness in that kind of way of living and that kind of philosophical dispositions. So that's why I think modern science is very, very powerful. Whether you like it or not, whether you hate it or not, you will not going to escape the effects or the influence of modern science. Only thing is that you have to face it and turn all the things that modern science brings into a kind of more meaningful direction. It's like a knife, Knife can use to cut vegetables, it's good. And knife can also use to kill people, So that is the power of knowledge. But we can have of Buddhist understandings. I think we can kind of control how we can use this knife, And if you know how to use it, then a very powerful knife is a good thing, So in science and Buddhism together can do lots of good things, can bring a lot of things to promote all these human values that we aspire to. And I think that's why His Holiness wanted Tibetan monastics to study science, and that's why I think His Holiness always wanted to have discussions and dialogues between Buddhist practitioners and philosophers with modern scientists. I think that's all what I have to say. If you have questions, then I'll try to answer. If not, then thank you very much for listening. I don't know whether you get something useful from me or not. I always believe that if you are a good Buddhist practitioner, then you don't need modern science to become a good practitioner. But it's always to have more knowledge. We always talk about the importance of wisdom in Buddhism, right? So wisdom is universal. It can come from science, it can come from Buddhism, Wisdom is not created by Buddha, it's there, it's important. And then also it's important to know how to use those wisdom. So we always talk about skillful means in Buddhism, right? Tap and Sherab should go together. So you can gain lots of wisdom from science. And I think this is a very, very important collaboration. And I'm happy to take some part in this project of His Holiness Dalai Lama. Yeah, thank you so much. Any questions? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful, and your great presentation, and hopefully you continue to present it to the Dharma community as well as to the Western scientists and stuff. It's really good. I have one question. Just as in Buddhism you study faulted tenet systems before you kind of, or you debate them until you arrive at Madhyamaka, right, in the standard Shedra, right?
Yeah.
So in science curriculum as well, we do kind of a history of science and spend an awful lot of time on classical physics, which is the, these deterministic laws and stuff. And only at the end of a very rigorous study do you get the modern concepts, and you often wrestle with them in terms of classical notions. And finally you get some perhaps clarity about the paradoxes of modern physics, at least modern physics. My understanding also is that the brain science is very primitive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, in a way, it's great to get the insights of the experts on brain science, but also I guess modern physics and brain science is still very unresolved and confused. Is that?
Yeah.
You get all that
Yeah,
from the scientists? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I think science is evolving kind of like a tradition. It's always evolving, it's always changing. You have to always update. So that's a very good thing about science. So if you don't change and if you don't evolve based on what you find, then it becomes stagnant. And when it becomes stagnant, there's no room for growth. And so the greatness about modern science is that for the period of like past 200 years, it has grown from almost like a stone. Like 200 years back, we have nothing, right? So if you look at today, all the things that we see in the modern society is all because of science. And so it managed to do that in 200 years. It's because of the fact that science is always changing and evolving. But it does not mean that science is perfect, you know. Modern science, whether it is physics or whether it is neuroscience, is not perfect. And especially, as you mentioned, His Holiness always teases neuroscientists that according to us, you are when it comes to the mind, you are at the primary level. We are in college, at least second year college. So I think that is also true to some extent, but modern science, even neuroscience, is very, very rapidly changing. But for me, when it comes to physics, I think modern physics is at a college level, and as compared to modern science. I think the Buddhist world systems and Buddhist concepts about these particle systems, I think they are at, if not kindergarten, maybe primary, you know, and you know, and most of the world system beliefs that we talk about today, Abhidharma texts, they mostly based on Vasubandhu. So I think Vasubandhu happened in 8th century. You know, and then since then there's no update. You know, so and what Vasubandhu said and wrote was not much difference from what other scholars at that time wrote and mentioned. So there's not much update, and so especially modern physics and especially quantum physics, there's so much things for the monastics to learn from. You know, and right now, as you mentioned, when we talk about the classical physics and modern physics, there's so much change in the physics itself that the logics or the explanations or the reasons that we derive from the classical physics based on the evidence and the experiments that we have from classical physics, they are no longer good enough to explain the things that we see at the quantum level. The law of all these logical statements breaks down at the quantum level. So we need a paradigm shift, or we need a new way of understanding and new way of logic to explaining the effects that we see at the very small level, at the quantum level. But yeah, quantum level is still growing. There are many of the quantum interpretations. I think some of them are inspired by Buddhist ideas about interdependence and emptiness. I think David Bohm is a very famous scientist, so he introduced this pilot web theory. And I think David Bohm is the scientist who taught quantum physics first to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I think, and David Bohm was inspired by the Buddhist philosophies. And there are many individuals who study like in 60s and 70s from like Berkeley and all this stuff. During the daytime, they go to the university to teach physics there. In the evenings, they interact with hippies and Buddhist teachers, you know. And then they discuss about all this emptiness and interdependence, this stuff. And then they, based on their interactions, they develop new interpretations. And then I think there's one called, one that is proposed by Roger Penrose or something, and he's a mathematician, but his whole view is very much similar to Minority School. He says that at the quantum level, if there's no consciousness, if there's no conscious observer, there's no physical world. You know? So there are a lot of interesting interpretations of the findings of the quantum physics. Now they will keep on evolving, and maybe in future sometime there is a quantum interpretation that is very much equivalent to emptiness or Buddhist understanding of emptiness. Who knows? Yeah. We can do that.
So yes, there's a few questions and comments online. One of which is whether or not your PowerPoint presentation, it might be available that we can maybe share to anybody who is interested in looking at it separately.
Yeah.
So we can make it available through our network, so to speak.
Cool.
The other question would be, there's a gentleman, his name is King Beach. He's involved with an organization in Nepal, and it's involving, let me see here. It's, he's involved with projects in terms of rural education, and he's wondering if you have any programs in Nepal, and if so, maybe you could talk about what those initiatives might be.
I don't know about that particular organization. So for Nepal, so far, we are doing 3 weeks workshop over there every year. And we have a partner organization there called Gelugpa Association. So Gelugpa Association is, there are a lot of Gelugpa monasteries and nunneries, and so they have a common association that is, I think, taking care of Gelug common exams. So all the when you graduated from Gelugpa monasteries, so when you graduate from your own monastery, you become a geshe, common geshe. And then if you wanted to become a more advanced geshe or more advanced, wanted to have a more advanced degree, then you can go to something called the common Gelug examination. So this is governed by a common body of all the, that oversees all the Gelugpa institutions. And it takes 6 years to complete that course. And after that, you become a Geshe Laramba. So that is the highest. So there's a branch of that Gelug Association in Nepal, and so we work with them. So far, what we do is we just organize this annual 1 month workshop in one of the monasteries, so far always near Kathmandu. So we, right now, we don't go to, we don't have any programs that is focused on rural areas, but we are planning to take these science exhibitions to as many monasteries, nunneries, and colleges as possible. So hopefully, maybe I can visit some of those places in rural areas, especially in the north, where there are like more Buddhist kind of dominated areas. And then also our funders, especially Sacred Family Foundation, they are very much interested in environment and climate conditions, climate awareness programs. And so we also do like this small workshops or small climate awareness programs at schools and other places. We thought of doing something in Nepal, especially in the Himalayas, on the rural areas. So that's what we have in planning, but something, not something that is concrete and something that's we do. Yeah.
So this gentleman might be a good contact for you. His organization he's involved with is called Community Gompa Education Initiative in Nepal, and they work primarily with rural monasteries, not specifically a lineage, I don't believe, although I believe he's Trikunkaju or Nyingmapa. But at any rate, that might be a good person to talk to. His name is King Beach, and
Cool.
Drew Banla can maybe pass on his
I
information.
know.
Yeah. I'll ask Debula to pass the information.
And then there was another question about kind of the process of your education. Is it primarily classroom, online? Do people put together like dissertations and theses that kind of develop a consensus understanding? I guess the question is a little bit in more mechanics of your process.
You mean in our programs?
Your programs.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then yes, and then for all our major like workshops, we invite teachers mostly from the U.S. So we have teachers coming from Berkeley University. We have teachers coming from Emory University. We have teachers coming from Arizona State University. We have teachers coming from Exploratorium Teacher Institute. We have teachers coming from New York University. We have teachers coming from Canada. I don't remember his college, but also from Washington State University. Yeah, and whenever we invite some new teachers, some of these teachers, they are coming like for maybe 10, 15 times every year, again and again. But whenever we have a new teacher, or a professor, we record his teachings. And then we put this online. So we have two websites. One is called scienceformonksandnuns.org. That is mostly, it's all in English. That's mostly just to update what we are doing for the English audience, what kind of programs are there. But we also have another website called scienceintibetan.org. Scienceintibetan.org. So we put mostly this is in Tibetan, so Science in Tibetan is in Tibetan, and so we put all these lectures online. And also we have a team in Dharamsala. We have 5 people working there as translators. We have 5 translators, and they're doing translation of scientific textbooks or any material, news articles, whatever interesting. They translate it into Tibetan, and then we put all this in our Science in Tibetan website, and it can be available to anyone who can speak and understand Tibetan. But when the lectures, the teachers, they speak in English, and then we do translation alternatively. So 10-minute lecture is like 20 minutes long. Yeah, but it's all available there. And then also the Emory University has prepared textbooks for our program, and all the textbooks, the soft copies are available on our websites. And then sometimes when we do these workshops, the participants, they have to come from different monasteries and nunneries, and they all have their own kind of like individual schedule. Sometimes it's always conflicting, so that time we invite the teacher to our science center in Dharamsala. We have a very nice small studio, and so the teacher will teach from that studio, and we do online classes at that time. Yeah, so students can join from their respective nunneries and monasteries. Yep.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
Very good.
Thank you.
Just one small
Yeah,
I'll be ready.
the rare opportunity.
I can hear you. I think everybody can. Okay, cool.
Can't hear.
Oh.
So I really think that is wonderful, also the emphasis on climate change, right? But there's also a kind of primitive view in the West that it's all under the envelope of climate change, the problems with the functioning of the world systems and natural systems, and there's a less emphasis about deforestation and soils and the loss of soils, desertification, the overfishing of the oceans, and on and on. It's monumental. It's just the physical imprint of human activity that's really denuding our planet and ultimately will cause problems, whether it's in weather or climate or,
Yeah.
every food, whatever. So.
Yeah, I think the man-made climate change is real. What we are doing to the environment, forest, ocean, is unprecedented. And the effect of all these unprecedented actions actually happening right now, we experience day by day. That is the problem. For me, it is very important to give awareness about climate change. And it's very important for us to do as much as we can at the individual level or society level. And it's important to have people who are very stone-minded about climate change, But one thing that I don't like about most of the so-called climate activists and organizations is the way they do their work, the way they promote climate awareness. I think it is related with what I said before, too much focus on individual. The way they do, if you try to convince somebody not to use fossil fuel, you can't shout at them and convince them, you can't threaten them to not do what they are doing. You should explain and if you give reason, you should have a conversation. What they do is they just come in front of the traffic, they block the whole traffic and make a big traffic, and then they are shouting in front of all the stranded people, oh, climate change is happening, you're using the fossil fuel, your car is making the climate polluted. If you say that, nobody will going to listen to you, even if your intentions are good, even if what you say is true, This is not the way I think we should promote climate awareness. And there are a few things that I don't like about climate activists, but climate change is a real thing, and especially we can see it very, very clearly in the Himalayas. And there are some places that you can see more extreme changes than other places, So it's a big, big problem. So I know.
I have a couple questions. One, is there any need for other teachers? Do you, try to solicit other professors or teachers in the United States to be, teaching? And then the second question is more of a sort of philosophical thing. How do you address, in science itself, we have people who really do embrace and understand holism, this concept that you said earlier. But then I know a lot of scientists who explain the world through a more reductionistic view, which I think is kind of antithetical to, what the Dharma says. Yet they're there very much. There's a lot of, even within the scientific community, there's always debate, and some of this debate is involved at a very fundamental level. So I guess I'm wondering, how is that addressed in the teaching of the monks and nuns?
Thank you. Yes, for the first question, yes, we always invite not only our past teachers, but also new teachers. So If you know anybody who has background in physics, who can teach physics to us, or who can teach neuroscience, who can teach biology, then it's always welcome. I have many programs, so sometimes our existing teachers, they can come because they are teaching at the university, so I have to look for a new teacher. So that's why we always need professors or teachers coming from here. So yes. And then the second part is that, yes, in science, I think this reductionist approach is a little bit contradictory to the worldviews that Buddhists try to kind of explain, propagate. But in science, if you don't, when you do research, if you don't do that kind of reductionist approach, then you will not going to achieve anything. And that is the way it is, you know. But your view about the universe, your view about the sentient beings, your view about our society should not be dictated by the kind of research that you do, you know. You do this research to understand something about the universe. And based on these understandings, based on the findings of other individuals or other societies or other religious traditions or philosophical systems, then you should collect all this information together, and based on the collective kind of information, then you should develop a way of life. And only then it is more closer to what nature demands, you know. And then I think it is at least you are in a good place at that time. Yeah.
Hello, thank you. You've touched on how your programs teach about environmental science and physics and these type of things, but is there any incorporation of medical science into the teachings? Because they are all really interconnected.
Yeah, all science topics are interrelated. If you wanted to know biology, then after some time you have to talk about the chemistry. If you wanted to understand chemistry, then after some time you have to talk about physics, you know. And then medical also, if you have to talk about chemistry and biology, all this stuff to understand about medicine. But science is a very big topic, so we don't have time to study all of them. And then, so when you don't have time to study all of them, you have to be selective. And for Buddhist monks and nuns, they say, okay, I want to learn neuroscience. Because neuroscience is something that is related with consciousness, and consciousness is something that is very important to our philosophy, our tradition, our belief systems. So I wanted to know what science says about neuroscience, and science tells about brain. And then also physics is a very interesting thing, but this concepts like interdependence and emptiness are very much related with the nature of the universe. And physics is trying to understand about the nature of universe, you know, and the law of nature. And so because of that, physics and neuroscience are very important for them. But we as individuals, for our health, we should know our body systems. So we should study biology. And through evolution, our body systems are not perfect, you know. It can go wrong, you know, and you have to understand medicine. So during the first introductory stages, we try to start with biology, and then body systems, and then a little bit of health, medicine, all this stuff. And then we go to neuroscience, and then we go to physics.
Thank you.
Yeah, so most of our participants, they participate in our program for at least 3 to 5 years, and they meet for at least 5 4 times. Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
No more questions online? Anyone else in the room?
Okay, so if no questions, we 15 minutes meditation.
Okay, page 24 in the prayer book. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drakumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you.